Fellas, Marvel Rivals has been out for 8 months at this point, and with that, there's been plenty of changes, plenty of bug fixes, plenty of adjustments that were done. But overall, these hot takes I think still are a prevalent problem, and some of them just aren't talked about all that much. So in today's video, I'm going to cover what I think are my top 10 hot takes for Marvel Rivals. And so, let's get into it. Starting off with the first hot take, I think, that is placement will not fix anything. Now, something I hear a lot, especially from online like Reddit, is, oh, if they had placements that would fix the issue where people are higher ranks than they should be, it'll fix this, it'll fix that. Barring the fact that you can flip that around, where the people very high up can throw their placement games to get lower, to get more content. It's engagement optimized matchmaking. They would have to drastically change that first in order to make the placements work. Say they were crap at the game, they were in GM and now they're back to gold, for example. I don't know if you've played Marvel Rivals at all in the last 8 months or so, but you can get up to GM, you can get up to Celestial with barely a 50% win rate, and with engagement optimized matchmaking, you'd play enough games and you'll rank up. So placements in the end, they're not going to fix anything because the overall problem of being able to rank up with not even a 50% win rate is still going to be there. So yeah, if you were GM, you're back to gold. Great, play a bunch of games and now you're back to GM. It's not the fix that people think it will be, and it's kind of annoying just to see it all the time. For the next hot take, that is support is the easiest role to do okay in, but all roles are hard. I do think that a lot of support players aren't good at their role, but it's easy to mask how bad you are from the one stat that is for that role. So with supports, if you have a ton of healing, you'll think, oh, I'm doing okay, I got a ton of healing, but it doesn't show the rest of the role that you're supposed to be doing. Same thing with tanks. If you have a ton of damage taken, it looks like you're doing a good job, but it doesn't actually mean you're doing a good job as the tank. But with supports, you gotta protect your partner. Peeling is important, but sometimes, it's a bad situation, or you're split, or your support is doing other random things, or it's chaotic, It's a team-based game, it happens. But in general, if you can't take care of your partner, you can't peel, it's a skill issue. Well, that's but also, speaking of peeling, it is a support's job, if you're being dived or attacked in the back end all the time, to go anti-dive. Go Loki, go Adam. Yes. Honestly, even Cloak and Dagger is relatively okay for dive. It is your job to switch, but it's also the rest of the team's job to come and assist with that if that's happening all the time. It's a team-based game. It's just most players don't swap, and that's why they lose. Overall, support is the easiest one to do okay in, because as long as you are healing, even if you don't do the rest of the job you're supposed to be doing, it looks like you're doing good. The next hot take is if you are not switching when you're having a off game or you're being countered, that's throwing the game. I don't think dive particularly is meta. You just see it a lot because people don't switch. I know that when Marvel Rivals first came out, I think a week or two into it, there was a list that was going around of, if the enemy is playing this character, here is the characters to counter it. It gave counters for every character. I haven't seen it in some time, but in general, a lot of people just don't switch. So if you're Black Panther and the enemy team is running the Thing, Emma, Namor, Loki, Black Panther's not the person to beat. Oftentimes you'll see the Black Panther just not switch up, which is throwing the game. And it's not just Black Panther, it's for every character. But speaking of Black Panther, I do think that the DPS, the duelists, are the problem child in Marvel Rivals. Because going back to an earlier hot take of how supports, as long as you get in a lot of healing, it looks like you're doing good. With Vanguard, as long as you have a lot of damage blocked, it looks like you're doing good. With DPS, if you have a ton of damage, that scared me. That's great. But if you don't have the picks to show for it, that means you did absolutely horrid. And it wouldn't matter if you had very little damage and no picks, or a ton of damage and no picks. Both of those things still mean you did bad at the job. But I'm not saying it's always easy to be the DPS role. It can be kind of tricky to play, especially in a game where everyone wants to be the DPS role. You very rarely see 4 people insta-lock support. You very rarely see 4 people insta-lock Vanguard, but it's pretty common to see the quick insta-lockers on DPS. And then they're the ones, if they don't switch, I swear it hurts more when the DPS is having an off game and they don't switch, or they're being countered and they don't switch. And I'm not sure why that is. I think it's just because it's so prevalent with them, even though it is a common issue in every role. I don't think it is the hardest role, but it is the hardest role to do good in. The next hot take is that Jeff is fine in a 2 support comp. As skilled Adam can be too, especially with the revive comp. It's strong for a reason. But people have become so greedy for heals in this game that if you go Jeff or even Ultron, people will start to cry and throw the game because instead of having 2 defensive ults, you have 1. Yes, 2 to 3 defensive ults are great, but you don't always need 2 defensive ults, especially if players are good at playing these characters. Plus, they can always switch if it's not working. There's no need to cry, there's no need to throw the game before it even starts, just because you don't like something. The next hot take, I think, is that Vanguards need to have more fun and strong, but not broken options. Because right now, it's either fun or strong for the most part. Like, you got Captain America, you got The Thing. They're very fun to play, but they're not super strong in their own right, especially compared to, like, Emma Frost. But then on the flippity flip side, you got Emma Frost, who is very strong, but isn't exactly fun to play. And then if you are solo tanking, it's made even worse. Because if you go for the fun over strong option, it's, you're more likely to lose the match. I think they did a great thing with The Thing. I think the devs are doing a great start to remedy this issue with The Thing. There we go, that was weird to say. But that's only 1 hero and there's 10 Vanguards? I don't think everyone needs to be reworked. They need to find a better balance, especially because not too many people want to play the Vanguard role. Now, as a real hot one, I think streamers, the content creators, do have too much influence on which characters are banned and played. If you think about it, at first in Marvel Rivals, just about everyone was adamant that Wolverine is the worst character because they didn't know how to play him. Now granted, the devs didn't really specify how his character worked in-game, but it also means they didn't really put time and practice into him in practice range or in-game. Because if they did, you would see the difference between attacking a support character and a Vanguard. But now these days, the consensus does seem to be more lined up because, especially for the big creators, they play 12 hours a day. They're going to know a lot more of what to do for what's good at the higher ranks compared to someone who plays a couple of quick play games or a couple of ranked games at gold on the weekend. On top of that, it's also characters that are in the hands of very skilled players, or they require a lot of skill to do well with. Because right now, I'm kind of surprised Human Torch is a very, very good DPS. And so if you watch the tournaments or your favorite content creator play who does the 12-hour days of Marvel Rivals, the characters that you see play there aren't going to be the same characters you see played in the lower ranks for a reason. The character selections, the bans, the gameplay, it does vary by rank. And so the mindset, the play set, the play style of, Celestial, GM, was it one above all? That's not going to be what you see played, used, banned, and even just starting from bronze to gold to diamond. It all varies. And so it is good to learn some of the characters. It's not going to be the best characters to play for your team, for the comp, or to get the win. For the next hot take, I think that the sexism in Marvel Rivals is definitely too high, and it's actually kind of sad. Who cares what gender someone is in the game? Especially if you are the one sitting there gooning off to the Squirrel Girl costume or the Psylocke costume. You're a shitter. It has nothing to do with gender, especially when there are a bunch of men who can't play the game. But I can tell you, you don't see GG, we got a man on our team. Now the second to last hot take is that, I don't know if it is even a hot take. I think it's a general consensus, but it's not talked about enough. It says solo queuing is pretty terrible, but it's not impossible. I made it to GM solo queuing in free time. I wasn't grinding anything out. It was a couple games every now and then. My face. Although I will say it'll be a ton better for you and your mental health if you find a duo or even a few people to play with, because then it's better. You know roughly what they can play, what roles they can fill. Makes it a lot easier to win games. And then when you win games, the highs are so much higher, but when you lose games, the lows aren't as bad. Although the losing streaks you'll go on is far worse.
I didn't think so.
Because it's not you yourself no longer playing the game. It's you got 2 to 3 friends and no, let's keep going. We can't end on a loss. And the win never comes. Then for the final hot take, it is, as we've seen from previous seasons, even up until now,
Well, that's
going
fucking
back to the
unlucky.
placement issue, you got to stop saying, oh, I'm GM and this, or oh, I'm Celestial and this, because it no longer matters.
Not
You can get
unlucky
up to
as that.
GM,
That was
you can
very
get up to
unlucky.
Celestial just by playing the game and having a bare 50% win rate. It doesn't mean anything. It did in the early seasons, I will say that. You don't have to
Oh,
be
that's
all that good to
frustrating.
get to a high rank. You know, it doesn't mean you're good at the game. It doesn't mean that you're good at your main or you understand like counters or you have like the best play style. It just means at the very least you can put a ton of time into the game and that's it. Because I swear I've played bot lobbies in GM, but I do get it though. I hit GM, as you can see from my little tag. Let me tell you, it is a good feeling. And so that is my top hot takes in Marvel Rivals. Now, I definitely didn't get any wrong, but do you think something else should have been on the list instead? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're down there, hit that like button if you're still watching. Subscribe for more videos like this if you haven't already.
Those R's for some
And
odd
stay
reason.
tuned for the next one. YouTube thinks you like this video next. Let me know if you do.